Artists are interesting people. And when you work in an art hive, you meet a lot of interesting people. Folks from all different walks of life who share their stories and change the way you understand and experience the world forever.
Hello, I'm guitar man Don King, local Oshawa guy,
And I'm Mary Cronert from the LivingRoom Community Art Studio.
and this is what an artist looks like. I got to Oshawa about just over a year ago, and I personally came from a pretty bad place, and I ended up at the shelter, and didn't know where I was going to do, what I was going to go, really withdrawn and just alone.
It was around this time that Don walked into the studio. He was quiet, someone you might describe as unobtrusive, never really asking for any help or needing much assistance. He would simply pour himself a cup of coffee, sit in the front corner window, and begin strumming on one of our old third-hand guitars. Over time, folks began to look forward to seeing him there and request specific songs from him, and of course he'd happily oblige. A few of us began to notice when he started sneaking his own original compositions in, and he would begrudgingly receive compliments. When the weather warmed up, he'd borrow a guitar and go busking, always returning with new strings to replace the worn-out ones on our guitars, of which he took excellent care. This is how we got to know Don. Song after song, day after day, slowly learning about his life, his experiences, what he'd overcome to get to this point. Illness, addiction, homelessness. These experiences do not define him, but they are a part of his story and the music he makes, and the artist he's allowed himself to become.
You know, it's funny because I look at a lot of my life, and it's what's kind of made the artist in me, and to not associate all the bad things that I've experienced and all the pain and heartache and all those things that people spend so much time to repress, that without those things I wouldn't be who I am. I don't know about other forms of art, but I know with music that there's a certain psychology involved and a certain amount of depression and a certain amount of sadness that kind of come with the territory. But once an individual recognizes that, it becomes a little bit more exciting when one creates things that drive someone to do something and take something that doesn't exist and make something out of it. And say, hey, this is what this is now. It's become something. So yeah, I think any artist, no matter what their art form is, there's a certain amount of psychology that comes with that. And I think the more intense that is and the more that person survived, I think the more intense the art is. I still am, this frail guy thing where it's like, as sad as it is, it's still, you have this comfortable space you want to protect and keep others out of, and don't want to show that, you have feelings and stuff. I know it comes out inevitably, but it's more of I don't know, trickery than anything. I think it's like it's gonna make people think I have a heart. I don't know.
Making art can be a very vulnerable thing. Sharing that art with others can take that to a whole other level. So many of the artists we meet at the studio experience this, a sense of fragility, a fear that we will somehow be hurt by expressing our truth, a feeling of nakedness, that somehow what we do is not enough, unless someone else has given us permission to do it. How do we deal with this? How do we overcome that fear?
I usually go by people's reactions while it's playing or while I'm playing, so I don't really get to watch and listen to what I'm playing. I'm actually watching the response of others. I guess I don't really trust what they're going to say compared to what the reaction is naturally. That's why I like to come here and I'll play, and people are doing their own thing, and they're right into their art, and subconsciously they let you know when you're hitting the right notes. And when I look around the room and I see people focused on their whatever they're doing, and they're toes tapping or they're bobbing their head, and it's subconscious, they don't mean to. And I think that really just that means a lot more to me. It says a lot more to me than an applause. I am very critical of myself, and I know it's mostly due to my lack of knowledge in different areas of music, because I really limited myself as a kid. So now I'm playing things and writing things I never thought I would, and people really seem to enjoy it. So it's not all about me. I wish I could hear what they do. Some haven't been playing playing an instrument very long. So what's coming out, I can't say there's one specific thing that keeps me going or that keeps me thinking about that. But there are a number of things that do pop into my mind that keep me wanting to push. I have nephews and kids that are involved in the arts, and it gives them a little more confirmation that they're on the right track, and that's what they want to do when they see that I'm not afraid to do what I want. I know it has a huge impact on my nephew, and he's really proud of that, and it's pushed him to do and go a little further with his art.
Artists find reasons to create even when it's hard. We take the small moments of success and we treasure them like they are gold, carrying them with us, rarely cashing them in, and sometimes along the way, we begin to learn how to invest in ourselves and our own voice, our process, our unique and wonderful brand of weirdness.
A lot of people in the city here have been really, really kind and understanding, because I've been in mid-conversation with people and just up and walk away playing, because something will pop in my mind and I'll just instantly start writing or playing. And at first they were like, "You're kind of rude," and I'm like, "Oh, geez, I'm so sorry," and I'll explain it. And since I've had to explain it a few times, but since then it's not been a problem. And they'll even, when it's happened to other people, somebody will go, "Oh no, that's just Don. It's okay. He'll be back." And so it's been really nice, and there's a lot of support and understanding, because I can just shut off everything and all of a sudden just be in full concert mode, walking around the street or just whatever. So I'll walk through the park or walk down the street or down my back road or just down my parking lot, and just break into song any moment. So more often than not, people will come up and talk to me after when I sort of come around, because I don't know if there's a look on my face or if there's a glazed over look I have, but people know not to even try to approach me, because I won't even stop playing sometimes. And but when I'm done, people come up and ask, "Did you write that?" or "Geez, you just totally calmed down the whole place," or people in the park will be like totally the other end and be like, "Man, we could hear it over here," and it just set the mood. I really appreciate that, and when that comes up that way, because it's when it's candid and it's random like that, it seems to have a little bit more impact for me. And I don't even really recognize the guy I used to be, but I know that there was a lot of selfishness and greed and stuff that would have been my main driving force. But now I couldn't even imagine having anything or attaining anything in life without it being shared and kind of be part of the community itself, where it's like anything I get is just part of what others have given me, so it'd be, I don't know, the idea of having or gaining or getting anything out of the future would be more for other people. I think that by now, I've taken enough that it'd be time to give back and maybe hopefully have impact on somebody else. Maybe they won't be starting a career in their 50s.
So what advice would you give to another artist, perhaps like yourself?
Yeah, you know what? Don't question it. Don't listen to others that are negative. Do what you love and just push. Because if you're truly passionate about it, when you get in your mode, you won't stop anyway. But just keep pushing to get into that. And with a place like this, there's really little excuse not to get out and do it anyway. Now, I argue with myself sometimes, and I get lazy, and I don't want to leave the house, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go anyway, and I just get halfway here and think, why would I think otherwise? And then by the time I show up here, I'm like, I'm really glad I came. So it's I don't know. It steps outside of where I normally go and what I'd normally do. Because the things I would do to keep from being bored are actually so unhealthy. And a situation like this and an alternative, it shows in how I carry myself, how I walk down the street now, how I approach others, how I sound. Everything is totally different. So it's such an important thing. I've spent so much of my life trying to better myself and change some of the direction I was going. to little or no avail, and this has been the most dramatic change and noticeable change I've seen in myself ever. So I would definitely, anything I can do to help anybody else get into that without having to go and survive so long and go through so many years of hardship and sadness when really it was all in my head. I could choose to smile at any time and change that, but I didn't understand at the time.
There are times when Don reminds me of musician and author Steve Earle, a brilliant artist who danced with addiction and loss, but reclaimed his life after seeking support. Don's got an understated swagger and a single-minded focus on speaking the truth through his art, which for him may mean remaining in touch with that pain and suffering he's emerged from. However, he's found a way to use that pain as a tool to make meaning of his experiences, and in doing so, bring joy to others. Or perhaps, as Steve Earle says, what's important is you wake up in the morning and something doesn't exist. And when you finish your day's work, something is in the world that wasn't there before. We like that. Thanks for listening. Thank you to Oshawa guitar man Don King, whose music you're hearing right now, the Living Room Community Art Studio, and Steve Earle. This podcast was made with the assistance of Reciprocity Media Collective, with music by Kevin MacLeod. My name is Mary Cronert, and this is what an artist looks like.
Yes, so I'd like to fix this guitar up a bit.